Before you get started, I highly recommend watching the memory object tutorials. So if you have a dynamic link library DLL created by professional programmer, then you can call functions of this library from a macro. But in this case, certain conditions must be met. Let's go over some examples. So I'm gonna create a macro. I will name it, let's say, call DLL. Now let's open it and let's call a dynamic link library DLL. We can find the caller command and the list of statements. This is a get dataset from DLL statement, and it has following parameters. The first one is a name of a DLL. In this case, let's take, for example, a dynamic link library which comes with this system. This is a special DLL connected to the revenue service. We also need to specify the name of the class in which the function we're calling is. Let's take, for example, waybill in this case. And we need the name of a function we're trying to call. So we have such a function, download accepted list. In other words, a function which downloads the list of accepted waybills. And the last parameter here is dataset name. It's the name of the set of tables. So we should create such a set of tables dataset. For that, we should use memory object and create a table at first. For example, table 1. Now let's add fields to this table which are needed for this dynamic link library. So let's double click on add table column. And we know, for example, that this library in the first table needs owner name here, string type parameter. It needs username as well, which is also string type parameter. Now we have to add record to this table. So we should double click on add new record. And now we need to assign value to this record. So let's double click on set field value. And here as an owner name, let's set, for example, Ltd organization. And in the second field, as an username, let's specify SA. Now we should put this table in the dataset, which is a set of tables. So we need to create this dataset first. I'm gonna name it, for example, dataset input. And add the table we've created recently to this dataset, like this. So there's the name of the dataset as a first parameter and this table as a second one, of course. And only after that we can call a dynamic link library. So let's move it down here. And now let's run step by step. And now let's look at data sets. So we have this data set with only one table in it, and we can see the values of those two fields and the first record as well. And now this data set can be passed, so we can put the name of this data set and the DLL calling function as a last parameter. Let's run it. And we can see the corresponding function of this DLL. The past parameters have been used by the system, and this function is called. This DLL is working now, so let's download some values. And I'm gonna select one of them, press accept button, and now if we take a look at datasets, and the dataset 1, this DLL should return those values which we need in the macro. Let's check up datasets, and here we can see dataset 1 where the variable information which we've selected from the DLL has been passed. So after that, we can take from this data set those tables which will be returned to us. We can get fields as well. In other words, we'll be able to work with that data set. So we can conclude that if we want to call the dynamic link library DLL, its function must be able to accept the dataset transmitted from us, analyze past values, and also to be able to return it to the macro. And then from the macro, we can process accepted dataset as we need.